Hi my angels, it's Hailey Reese. I hope that you guys are having an absolutely amazing night. If you guys enjoy paranormal cases just as much as I do, your night is probably about to get a whole lot better because today we are diving into a paranormal case that I have never heard anybody talk about or cover. That's obviously not to say that it hasn't been covered before because this is the internet, but I haven't seen a YouTube video on it. When I was researching it, it was all just like so new to me, and I really wanted to come on here and share it with you guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Tallman family that believes they were haunted by haunted bunk beds. I know that sounds super ridiculous when I say it out loud, but the case is really chilling. There are so many elements about this case that really leave room for a lot of wonder. So, without further ado, let's just dive right on into this specific case because I am super excited to share it with you guys. For 9 months, the Tallman family had been haunted by what they now believe to be their bunk beds. Literally, children's bunk beds. And when I get into the details of what type of torment they endured for these 9 months, it's so wild to think it was all due to a set of bunk beds. This case was literally so strange that it was actually featured on the 1990 show Unsolved Mysteries. So let's kind of get into where this all began and what happened revolving around these bunk beds and this family. So in early February of 1987, Alan and Debbie Tallman purchased a set of bunk beds. This was in Horizon, Wisconsin, by the way. Now they assembled the bunk bed and they put it within their basement while they continued to paint the children's bedroom. They would finally move the bunk bed up into the bedroom in May of 1987, and immediately strange things began happening. From the moment that this bed was first slept in, the home all of a sudden was completely haunted. Firstly, the children who were rarely sick all of a sudden became super ill, but then the Tallman's daughter began seeing what she referred to as a witch hovering over her above the bed, and she described her with long black hair and that she glowed like fire or with fire around her. Doors began opening and slamming, lights began turning on and off, the radios had a complete mind of their own, and the children, alongside with the daughters seeing this witch, would begin to hear voices and talking coming from the walls. Their son became so terrified he wanted to leave the home and never come back, but these were young children. After so much terror being instilled in the children and all of these experiences just piling up and getting worse and worse, the Tallmans asked their church for help, and their pastor came to the home, and immediately he sensed a very evil presence. He actually went ahead and as far as to say that he felt and sensed the devil in the home. So he went about cleansing the home. After he cleansed the home, for a little bit it seemed like the haunting had subsided, but it had not, and when it came back 10 times harder. Things got so bad that Alan became so frustrated he started screaming at this entity. He yelled at it to leave his kids alone, and that if it had to haunt something, to come for him instead. Terrifyingly enough, this entity or entities listened. 3 weeks later at around 2 a.m. on January 7th, Alan came home from a late shift. Outside the garage, he started hearing really strange noises, so he went to go and check it out. All of a sudden, he heard a voice specifically say, "Come here." He then saw that his garage was completely submerged in flames and was totally on fire. He went running into the house to get a fire extinguisher, but when he returned, there was no sign of there ever being a fire. There was no sign of any damage or that there ever had been a fire, but he knew what he had saw. Now, scarily enough, what followed was even scarier. Blood started oozing from the roof and walls of the home, and there was apparently a big black hole in the basement. But what's even creepier is Alan then heard a voice clear as day tell him, "You're dead." They ended up staying a little bit longer, but what the final straw was one night they had a relative babysitting the children. And this relative saw all of the things that this family had been seeing. So now they knew that it wasn't just in their heads, that it wasn't just experiences that they were making up or whatever the case may be. They knew that this was real. Debbie packed up the entire house, packed up the kids, and they left the home. A few weeks later, the Tallmans had the bunk beds destroyed because they believed that this evil came along with the bunk beds. Afterwards, they never had another paranormal experience that we know of since. However, in April of 1988, another family moved into their home, and that family was asked if they'd had any experiences, and they claimed that they didn't have any paranormal experiences in the home, which further led people to believe that it wasn't a haunted house. It really might have had something to do with those bunk beds. I should also say that prior to them having any of these experiences, the Tallmans' home was never known for any sort of hauntings or any paranormal experiences. Now, what I really admired and found fascinating about this case is they actually hid from all of the limelight that came along with their haunting experience. They turned down a ton of tabloid offers as they didn't feel it was right to make money off of their children's misfortune. So nobody can argue that they made up this story for any sort of fame and fortune, because they actually fled from that. They did not feel it would be appropriate or right to make money off of the torture that their children endured during the span of living there with those bunk beds. When they did agree to share their experience with Unsolved Mysteries, they did it under the condition that they were to remain censored throughout the entire interview, and that the names of their children were never to be exposed, and that they basically just wanted everything to be hidden under aliases and actors. So even with that show, they didn't want any sort of fame, fortune, or their faces to be shown. Nonetheless, they believe to this day that this all had to do with those bunk beds. But what I find interesting about this case is perhaps the spirits that are associated with these bunk beds may have died in a fire. But maybe even on top of that, maybe it was something to do with hell, and that's why there was all of those flames. I personally don't know if I believe it was demonic entities like the pastor did, or if I believe that it was just a set of haunted bunk beds, but I definitely do believe the authenticity of this story 100%, especially because they didn't want to profit off of their experience. They kind of wanted to put it in the past and forget it. So that is the paranormal case of the Tallman family from Wisconsin. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I found it super interesting that the haunting had more to do with an object. I also found it kind of strange that when they burned the bunk beds, they didn't have any further hauntings, because normally you would think that would unleash it, but I don't know. I thought this case was super fascinating, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Make sure you go ahead and take to the comment section below and let me know what you guys think of this case and what your theories are. And that is it for today's video. If you guys are new to my channel, or you're just not yet subscribed but you do enjoy my videos, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'm uploading every single day this month, both here and on my vlog channel, which is linked down in the description as well. So make sure you join the Reese's Pieces and end out this year with us here. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And that's it for today's video. Remember, my loves, do all things with kindness. And until tomorrow, I love you guys.